This is Lacey Rice with KySports.TV talking to Georgetown College head volleyball coach Christina Coleman. This is Coach Coleman's first year at Georgetown College. She had previously coached at Kentucky State University, where she had a successful career. During 4 full years, she had 2 conference championships and 1 conference runner-up, and she had been to the NCAA Division II tournament twice. How you doing today, Coach?
Good. How are you?
Great, great. So now you've made the move from being a Kentucky State University thoroughbred to a Georgetown College Tiger.
Yes, sir.
And you're actually taking over a team that had 21 wins last year and had 3 All-Americans, which is that's a lot of talent for a team. So how has it been so far since you've been over here at Georgetown?
Well, it's been going pretty well. For the most part, I've just been kind of trying to instill my work ethic and my style and my speed and tempo of volleyball and kind of bring that over here to this program. Okay.
You've been coaching, like I said, at Kentucky State University for the past few years. But you are familiar with Georgetown. You've played Georgetown over the years, and you actually used to coach over at Scott County, which is located here in Georgetown, Kentucky. What did you know about the program before you took it over?
Well, pretty much I know that they are a top-tier caliber ball club. I knew that they have a history of winning, so a winning tradition. So I knew that that setup was a good start for me to walk into another situation, kind of like I had built at Kentucky State.
Okay, and this is different though than what you had at Kentucky State, because when you first got to Kentucky State, to put the metaphor correctly, the pantry was bare. You pretty much the previous coach or the players of the previous coach, they pretty much left with her and went to the other program where she was coaching. So you had to actually start from scratch, but it didn't take you long at all to build that program. And she, actually the previous coach to you at Kentucky State, she had had established a winning tradition too, having won conference a number of times there. So how is that different?
Well, it's kind of one and the same, again, because different levels, different schools, but same kind of realm of things. But I will say it could be a little different because when you walk into a situation where you're having to rebuild a program from scratch, you kind of have to just stick with what you have and work with what you have and kind of just wait that year out, get through that season, and try to get, on the road recruiting pretty heavily for that next upcoming season. So, I'm pretty grateful I didn't have to step in the door trying to, go out and recruit, 9, 10 players and recoup on the team. So that worked out really well. At least they have, a great base here at this institution, and so now all I have to do is just kind of mix and match some extra additional pieces to the puzzle. Okay, all right. Well, another thing that you did not have at Kentucky State, which you do have over here at Georgetown, you also are over a junior varsity team. And so have you had experience with junior varsity before? Yes. I mean, to me, it's kind of the same thing as running a high school program, And so with me at least being a head coach on the high school level at several different schools, that gave me the, groundwork I needed to be able to sustain 2 programs over here at this institution. So pretty much, yeah, it's kind of the same situation. Okay. All right. This season actually started very slowly for you because I know you had originally been scheduled
to go down to Texas, and unfortunately, a certain situation happened down there in which you had to evacuate with a whole lot of other people.
Yes.
And so, how was that?
Well, I mean, it was kind of, a bummer because we went down there and didn't really get to play the matches that we, thought we would be able to start out with. But it kind of put us a little behind because, those 4 big time matches really would have shown us where we were at. Those were high, some of the top teams in the country. So it would have shown us kind of, where we are and where we needed to go. But on the other side, at least we got back here safe and sound with our lives and everybody was okay. So, like I said, it's just one of those things that you just have to get through and try to, do the best you can and start where you are and, just sweep it under the rug because it really wasn't, it was out of our hands at that point. So.
Okay. Well, some people who knew about that situation and knew about what happened last year kind of had a laugh at your expense because I believe your Kentucky State team traveled down to Florida, what was it, last year or whatnot, and there was a hurricane down there as well.
Yeah.
And so hopefully next year, wherever you go,
yes,
you won't have to run into that situation again. Okay, but now you're in the Mid-South Conference now. You are kind of familiar with teams in the Mid-South because even though Kentucky State was NCAA Division II, it played a lot of Mid-South Conference teams. And so, what are you looking at? Who are you expecting to give you the biggest challenge this volleyball season?
Well, for us, Lindsey Wilson, which we didn't really play them a lot at Kentucky State. We kind of played some of the other teams that, we were familiar with. But Lindsey Wilson is really the top team in this conference, and they're the team, that everybody wants to pretty much take down. So they'll definitely be our biggest challenge. But, I've seen some of the other teams via video, and, so everybody's going to be pretty tough. I feel like every year anything could happen. It's any man's game. So, Lindsey Wilson is definitely that top team. They're definitely number 2 in the nation, coming off of their run from the national tournament from last year. So, I mean, we did, this conference is a really tough volleyball conference. I mean, I think we have at least 3 or 4 teams in the rankings or, pushing through the rankings to get ranked in the nation. So we're definitely headed after that number 1 team, but we again, respect every other team as well.
Okay. So that's a bit different than what you experienced at your other program, because I believe at your other program, besides your first year, you usually did not lose any more than like 1 match per year in the conference. Or it was sort of closer around there.
Yeah, so, I mean, hopefully, it should be the same over here. In the previous season, this institution, they did beat Lindsey Wilson one of those regular season games. They just couldn't bear it out through that conference tournament in order to, get that conference title. And, obviously the national championship went a little different than what they expected as well. So we'll be right around that same mark, as I foresee. We just got to keep working at it and, keep running our style and keep running our tempo, and we should be fine.
Okay. Can you tell us a bit about the athletes that you have here? Who are your main athletes?
Well, we have a couple of girls that, like you said, prior to are All-Americans. So they're going to be my go-to kids. I mean, they're the meaty hitters and the setter. Unfortunately, she won't be with us this year. She is down with the ACL injury, so we're dealing with that. But I brought a kid in from Sacramento, California, who's stepping right in and filling those shoes that our other setter left behind. So Jenny Howe is definitely a right side hitter, senior from the Cincinnati area. She's definitely a huge go-to player for us. So we'll look at her to continue her All-American status and try to do what she's done in the past and exceed and lead this team and take them on her back pretty much. We have Caroline Ricks, who is also a senior from the Indiana area, and she's expected to, carry us on her back and do some good things and continue to try to get that All-American status for her because, she's right there with her numbers.
Okay, all right. And so this particular team, where was it picked in the preseason to finish?
We were picked 19 in the preseason polls to finish. I believe we've moved up to maybe around the 18 or 17 mark after we came from the Lindsey Wilson tournament. So we're moving up the ranks as we get this season started, and we did what we were supposed to do earlier in the year.
Okay, all right. So now that you're here at Georgetown, what is your ultimate goal?
My ultimate goal is to win a national championship. As I was brought here to my athletic director believe in me that, that I can instill that tenacity and toughness that I've been kind of known for, and just try to take this thing to a national title and, take care of business on the lower levels and then try to do it in the national ranks.
Okay, all right. And so now you are looking at the current talent you have. You want to take this team to that ultimate goal, and you have to do, you said, like some recruiting and whatnot. As far as recruiting, have you already established a lot of relationships with, besides the relationships you had before, have you established new relationships with traditional partners for Georgetown College?
Well, yes. Actually, I have a few people that, when I first got here, have kind of introduced me to some of the people that are on the club scene and some of the other high school coaches that kind of feed into Georgetown and the surrounding area. So, I've got really acquainted with them. I've done a lot of camps, when I got here to kind of, keep getting those new relationships and establishing some, some old things that I already knew were lingering up in the air. So, yeah, I've definitely try to make sure I get contact with some of those feeder coaches and some of those ones that know the history and know the program pretty well and can send those the good caliber of kids that we need here to the program.
All right. Well, and speaking about that, what type of athletes are you looking for? Because Georgetown does have a high academic reputation. So what kind of volleyball players are you looking for? In fact, for our viewers, for those prospects that might be watching this, can you tell them, who you're looking for? What type of young woman you're looking for?
Right. Okay. So first of all, as you stated, that Georgetown is a top academic school, and I pride myself in academics even prior to getting here. So I want an academically sound, academically strong young woman. I want her to make sure, be able to sustain, her academia area and be tough and strong in that, in her expertise. Also, player-wise, I look for an individual that is pretty tough, is coming here focused, ready to, provide that winning attitude that, we need to get us to the next level.
Okay, all right. And so now as well, and I'm not as familiar with JV. Is there a championship or anything for JV, or do they just play their matches and, and
yeah, there is like a conference, kind of like an end championship tournament at the end of the year. Lindsey Wilson is actually hosting that this year. So they get to actually play kind of a round robin tournament and kind of get some of those games in to see who's the better team on that level as well.
Okay, so are you looking to bring home 2 trophies?
I am looking to bring home 2 trophies always.
Okay. Now, as far as your team, you did have quite a few personnel established, and you brought in some new ones as well. Can you talk about your coaching staff?
My coaching staff is, we have my assistant coach. She was inherited. She pretty much was already here. She's been here for, I want to say, 4 seasons now. And so she's pretty familiar with the program, the girls. She's able to just step right in and kind of guide and lead where we need to go. And, you know, she's real familiar with the school and the program. So that's one of my other assistant, I kind of brought her in new this year. I coached her at Bryan Station in 2000, I want to say 9, and so she was she just graduated from Pikeville, and so she was kind of looking for, you know, a coaching opportunity, and so I just brought her in to kind of guide and lead that JV team because I felt like she was ready enough to do so.
Okay. Well, Coach, as we start wrapping this interview up, can you tell us who some of your influences were? Because you weren't you were an athlete at Kentucky State University. You were a multi-sport athlete, and you were recruited to Kentucky State as a track and field All-American athlete out of high school. So can you talk about your athletic background as well as who some of your influences were?
Well, my athletic background is I'm a 3-sport athlete. I come from, you know, Chicago, Illinois, where I was a participant in volleyball, basketball, and track, and, you know, again, I, you know, was a dedicated person to all 3 of those sports. I worked very hard, and, you know, I got a lot of notoriety for a lot of things I've done back in high school. So I pretty much laid the groundwork for all of the sports, and, you know, I felt like when I got to college, I had to pick a couple of the sports. You know, I figured you can't do 3 sports in college because of just the busy schedule and classes and all of that. So I picked volley. I was a great track athlete, but I was also a great basketball player and a volleyball player as well. So I figured I would pick the 2 that were not close to each other, since track was in the spring and volleyball was in the fall. So I decided when I got to Kentucky State, hey, I'm already here, school's already paid for, so why not go ahead and try out for volleyball, just go on and, you know, walk on. And I think that worked out really well for me by doing that. And I would, you know, I like 2-sport, 3-sport athletes, and I feel like, you know, if you work hard at every single one of them, then you can market yourself a lot better, and you can get money for, you know, whatever sport that you're good at or whatever. And so that's pretty much my groundwork and how I got here and where I've came from. And, you know, some big influences for me are, I watch a lot of, you know, Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali, just the athletes that are great and that have that wonderful work ethic, that work hard. That really inspires me, that really pushes me, because, you know, deep down, I feel like hard work is what gets you, you know, to who you become and how you reach your full potential. So those are just some of the great people that influence me. And, you know, my mom, she always was there pushing me and, you know, trying to make me better and put me in situations that was going to give me that, you know, that base that I needed to be able to compete at a higher level.
Okay. Well, final thing, as we wrap this up, this is your opportunity to give anyone a shout out who you feel deserves one from you. And so go ahead and shout somebody out.
Well, I want to give a shout out to my athletic director for giving me an opportunity to take over this program, and, you know, trusting and instilling that I can do whatever is I can do all things as possible, and that, you know, he gives me the green light to go ahead and, you know, coach how I coach and to continue to take this program on an upward level. Also, I want to shout out to my young women at Kentucky State for, you know, always being there for me as well and having my back and kind of, you know, just trusting in me to be their life coach, and my girls here as well, to, you know, just giving me the opportunity to, you know, lead them and guide them in the right direction. And so that's pretty much, you know, who I give my shout outs to. And I want to say thank you to, you know, everybody who's been there and been around and who supports me all the time.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Coach. We really appreciate you taking out the time today to talk to us. And we wish you all the best as we continue to look at your program throughout the year.
Thank you.